Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Happy Friday. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. We've got Lawrence running the show today. Big one today. Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson was a guest on my old stomping ground, 670 The Score, and had a lot to say. So we're going to play some of those comments and react to them. First, make sure you smash that like button on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel as well. Podcast listeners, make sure you're following or subscribed as well there. Turn on those notifications so you know as soon as a new episode drops. And leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And remember, you can become a diehard at allchgo.com. Greg is rocking that new Cubs design that came out. A couple new Cubs and White Sox designs came out yesterday. So check out all the merch at chgolocker.com. When you become a diehard, you get a free shirt or hat of your choice. And anytime you shop at CHGO Locker as a diehard, you save 20%. So jump on those great deals and those great designs right now. Because why the hell not? What else you doing? Watching us? You can open a new tab, shop around, and then come back. Perfect. How are you, fellas?
I'm tired. I just got done cutting the grass, and I am sitting in my office, and it is not well insulated, so it's humid in here.
You and I have the opposite problem. I was telling Lawrence, my basement is approximately 60 degrees right now. It is freezing down here.
I would trade that right now. My skin is getting moist.
Greg, what are you going to bitch about?
Nothing.
Perfect.
Yeah, I had a landscaping company that I didn't hire mysteriously show up this week and cut my grass for me. So you gotta get me one of them, Mario. Makes life so much easier.
One of those accidental landscapers.
I have no idea. It was unexplained. There was no invoice in my mailbox. I'm thinking maybe the old occupant of this house forgot to tell them that she no longer lives here and cancel them. So thank you, former lady who used to live here. I don't know.
I think accidental landscaper is a new Manscaped product. So,
you don't want to do anything accidental.
Yeah, you want to make
sure it's on purpose.
Good point. All right, so a lot to get to with Kyle Davidson's interview this morning. He was a guest of Mully and Haw on 670 The Score. I want to thank my old pals there for letting us use this audio. Saved me a lot of work on transcription and a lot of work reading. So we're going to get right to it. Right off the bat, Kyle Davidson was asked how he intends to use all the cap space the Blackhawks have right now. And here's what he had to say.
The draft picks, the cap space, it's all by design and for good reason in this rebuild. And, the one thing about the cap space, and I've been asked about it a lot with respect to now what you can do this summer is that, I think what we've seen and how we've sort of studied the landscape in the NHL is that you can really stunt your ceiling and your upside as a team by spending too early. And hopefully we've got enough good players coming in, young good players coming in as the new core that, they're going to require most of that salary cap space. And the last thing we want to do is acquire all these young players, all this exciting young talent, all this great draft capital. We use it, they get here, and then we jump too early in free agency in our life cycle. And now we can't pay some of those great, exciting young players. That's the last thing we want. And so we're going to be really intentional about it. We're going to stay focused on acquiring the best young talent we can. And, you mentioned the draft capital, hopefully, and as well as the cap space, that can all go into acquiring more quality young talent. So we're going to see what opportunities come our way, but we're going to stay dedicated to our path here and just try and build this thing through quality youth.
There you have it. He's telling you what he's doing. Like, there is no intention to go sign a big name, high cost, long-term free agent right now. But he did say, if we can add some young talent with some of the cap space we have, I think that sort of talks about what we've been talking about the last few days, the Connor Garland, Brock Besser, those sort of conversations, I think are definitely on the table. That's what I got from that comment.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like, he wants to save his money for the guys that he is picking to be the next core of the organization, and wants to be able to keep all of those guys together for a long time. That's a good plan if those guys hit their potentials, because then you're talking about a team that's going to be really competitive and hopefully together for a long time. And that we were very fortunate as Blackhawks fans to see that basically from 2007 to 2017. So another run of that would be really good, and managing the cap better than the previous regime did could make it longer than a decade that we're talking about a team that could be competitive. So I am fine with that mindset. I know yesterday we spent a lot of time talking about different free agents that Davidson could look at this summer. If he wants to bank as much cap space as possible and look at next summer as a free agent class with some young talent that he could go after, by all means, fine with that as well.
I know we're not used to this, but we have a general manager with foresight and a guy that has a plan beyond today. It's refreshing. I know some people probably have Stockholm syndrome and are a little weirded out by it and don't want to believe it. I understand that, but Kyle Davidson, he had a plan when he was officially named GM last March. Just because he got Connor Bedard, he's not changing from it. This isn't the summer to go crazy anyway. Free agency class is not great. There's nobody in there that's going to be a difference maker for you when this team is ready to contend for a championship. So why? Just because you can spend a ton of money doesn't mean you should. Get to the cap floor, get some guys in here that can help, with Connor Bedard and these young players who are also be attractive at next year's trade deadline. So maybe get some more assets.
Well, yeah, that's part of it is like this free agent class. There's no one on there that for me makes sense for the Hawks to sign long term. We've talked about Domi, Athanasiou, whatever. Like JT Comfort, fine. That's a 2-3 year deal. There's no one there that's like 7 years, 10 million worthy. That's unless they wanted to make a play for Timo Meier, which certainly doesn't sound like it's something Kyle Davidson is interested in doing. That's what you're looking at. So I think they'll be active in free agency, but I think as far as like some kind of a massive contract, first of all, that guy's not there. Right. Second of all, he's right. Like at some point, if these guys are what you think they are, you're going to have to pay these dudes, and that's going to be costly. And you don't want to lose a guy because you brought somebody else in to stopgap or make you slightly more competitive for a year, for a while.
Yeah.
The plan is sound. That's for sure. I'm sorry if I interrupted you, Craig.
No, it's a good plan. Go out, see if Max Domi wants to come back. Give him a good, nice contract. I'd love to see Alex Killorn in here, a guy like that. Another guy that I would target who won't cost you a lot of money, but is perfect for this. I was looking over some fancy stats this morning, and a guy that jumped off the page to me because of his defensive metrics was Josh Levo, that played with the Blues last year. Very good defensively, veteran forward, has some size, can score some goals, won't cost you a lot of money, and might be a guy that you can get a third-round pick for. Think Jason Dickinson with a little more size and a little more offensive ability. That's a guy I look to bring in here, because that's a guy you could put with Connor Bedard to kind of be like, that's your protector. He could play physical. He can shoot the puck in the net when you hit him tape to tape like Bedard can do. Those are the guys you go after this. So the big difference-making free agents aren't there, and don't spend money just because you can.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, you mentioning the PTSD of Hawks fans with the last regime. How many DMs have you guys gotten from Hawks fans worried that he's not going to take Connor Bedard?
Too many.
Like, yeah, it's okay. Like,
too many.
He's definitely taking Connor Bedard.
While we're talking about strange theories, somebody already has it in the chat. I've been asked another thing about 8 times. I think also in our Diehards Only Discord. There is no way in hell the Anaheim Ducks are trading the number 2 pick to the Blackhawks. It's not happening. It is not happening on any planet. They're not trading that pick to anybody. They're especially not going to do it to the Blackhawks. If you thought that everybody was mad when they got number 1 overall, and then all of a sudden they're going to get number 1 and number 2, whatever edible you ate this morning,
send some.
Shared it with me, because that's some good stuff right there. It's not happening.
What is the context of that thought?
It's just people spitballing, saying, "Hey, we got all these extra picks. What would it take to get number 2 from Anaheim so we can get Bedard and Fantilli?" Nothing. That's zero chance that happens. Pat Verbeek would be run out of town on a rail, and his head would be on a pike at the entrance to Disneyland if he did that.
So here's my general rule. When someone sends me a trade proposal or I dream up one of my own, if I was that team, would I make this deal? Does this deal make the team getting this player better? And Hapless Plugger, who's got the suggestion on our chat, is saying like, right?
Not a chance.
No, it's Adam Fantilli. And if you were the Hawks, you would not take on some other teams. You know, Lucas Reichel is a good, not great prospect. Connor Murphy is a middle pair defenseman with mileage on his back, and the 19th pick. That's not enough for me to trade a potential franchise changer.
No.
So you got to think that way. You got to think like, what does this make sense for the other team? Quantity does not equal quality.
Right. I think the sting of not getting number 1 overall for Anaheim is not as great as, say, for Columbus, because Anaheim already has some tremendous young talent there in like Zegras and Terry and McTavish. And now you add Adam Fantilli to that core, and you're going to be competitive a lot quicker than some of these other teams at the top of the draft. So they're not moving out of that spot. They're going to add another elite talent to a really good core of young players. Yeah. Anaheim, man, they get some defensemen, they get some goaltenders. They're going to be a tough team in a couple of years.
I love the fit of Fantilli and Anaheim too.
Yeah,
like that to me is you talk about what you were saying about Levo, you know, being the power forward type that can crash the net and just receive the passes. You've got the skill with Zegras, you've got the power forwardness of Adam Fantilli, who projects to be maybe not quite as great as Matthew Tkachuk, but a similar type of player. Yes, that will work. And that's going to work very well for them in the playoffs when they get there. So if I'm Anaheim, absolutely not. If you're not picking up the phone it's not a GM saying Connor, McDavid or Bedard, number 2 is not on the table for me. There's no way. So, However, on that thought, to the next little cut we have here from 670 The Score and Kyle Davidson, he was asked, is trading up in the draft a possibility?
It's definitely something we're exploring. I think the level of success we reach it will be dictated by the level of player we can acquire. And you know, logic dictates that the higher you are in the draft, the better chance you have of getting a good player. And so we're going to explore the opportunities available to us to potentially move up. Again, it's a good draft, so that means people don't necessarily want to move down. And so, you know, it might not be there for us. We're going to explore it. You know, right now we've got 8 picks in the first 3 rounds of the draft, which that is a lot. And I will concede that's a lot. I think it's probably unlikely that we make all of those picks. So how that manifests itself, whether it's in a move up, whether, you know, what maybe we move some players or some picks for future picks or something like that. You know, that remains to be seen, but that's a lot of picks. But in the end, you have to have the currency to be able to, you know, give yourself options. And that's what we do have. And we have it provided ourselves with some of the work we've done the last 2 trade deadlines. So, you know, we'll see what happens, but we're definitely looking to be active when we get down to Nashville.
I mean, he just said it. It's unlikely we make all those picks. They're definitely going to be moving some pieces. And that's where, for me, this Michkov thing becomes so interesting, because how scary is he for a team? Like, it's a couple years and it's not guaranteed. That's the sort of thing where Kyle Davidson can swoop in, just like the Eagles did with Jalen Carter, kind of similar, and say, hey, we'll take this choice off your hands if you'd like to. And you can pick a few away, and here's a 2nd round pick for your trouble. the Hawks get Bedard and Michkov, and holy shit.
You thought NHL fan bases were mad after the draft lottery? Whoa, baby.
But I mean,
Bring it on.
But it's not just Michkov. Like there was some talk, at least last week, like early this week, that like maybe the number 2 pick won't be Fantilli. I don't really believe that, but Leo Carlsson could fall. Guys jump and fall as the thing comes on. And if there's someone that they really love, even if it's a couple spots, like Gabe Perreault is a guy they like, who's probably like between 12 and 16, probably in that range.
Mm-hmm.
You trade 19 in a second to get up to 13. Okay. Like the beauty of this is you've got your home run already with Connor Bedard. Just like last year when you were able to get Korchinski and Nazar. Then with Renzel, you're like, we're kind of playing with house money now. It's our 3rd first-round pick. So let's take a bit of a project. Let's take a bit of a stab here and see what we can do. They are in prime position to do a lot at this draft, be it trade up for a pick, trade for an active player, whatever. There is no GM more equipped to dominate this draft than Kyle Davidson.
Yeah, I love the ability for them to have options, and I love that it sounds like he really wants to be able to be active to try and move up. And to me, it makes me, last year they had their players they wanted to get, specific guys. Yep. Makes me think that outside of the potential of Michkov falling, outside the top 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, I think they have a couple targets that are maybe top 10 guys that they're like interested in trying and going and getting. I mean, why wouldn't you? This is a super deep class in the first 2 rounds of players, but with all with having the extra first round pick and all the second round picks they have, they could get really creative and maybe hop into the top 10 and grab somebody that we're not even expecting right now. So I'm excited, man. Like I love hearing a GM that I think has shown us enough to kind of trust in the messaging and in the plan that he has, and to be like, what, like we want to be aggressive in this, and that is something that I think we've kind of missed.
Yep.
Yes.
Aggressive is definitely a word on Kyle Davidson's Facebook profile. Like there's no doubt about that. I joked months ago about dream scenarios, winning the draft lottery and then using some extra picks to trade up and get Michkov. And, that's sexy. And you basically take all the risk of Michkov not showing up because it minimalizes it because you have Connor Bedard. So if he doesn't, oh well, you still have Connor freaking Bedard. And if he does, or when he does, look out. I don't necessarily know if that's what they're trying to do, but as Mario said, I'm sure they've got some eyes, because people
I'm already thinking of players
because of the leaps and bounds Will Smith has made over the past few weeks, or Gabe Perreault, some of these that means maybe some of these guys that should have been 6th or 7th fall to 10, 11. And if one of those, if you've got a guy, go get him. Ryan Pace, I know he's a 4-letter word around here. You don't say his name a lot, but the one thing I gave him credit for is when he had his target locked on a guy, he went out and got him. He didn't care what it cost. Hindsight's always 20/20, but he did it with Justin Fields. He did it with some of his other draft picks he made. He traded up quite a bit. I will always respect a general manager that's aggressive and is willing to go get who he has fallen in love with. Now time will tell if those are the right players. In Pace's situation, some of those guys weren't the right players. You've got this capital. You've got all these assets until he takes the card up to the podium and announces his name. Those draft picks are currency. Use it to buy an upgrade if you need to. I'm fine with it. He is in the driver's seat. Kyle Davidson has the chance to walk into Nashville of all places and just be the king of the NHL and make everybody bend the knee and kiss the ring.
That'd really be a shame, wouldn't it?
Oh, just break my heart.
Yeah, Nate says exactly, Greg. If the only picks the Hawks made this year was Bedard, it's already a success. So if they got Michkov and he never comes over, it's no loss. I mean, it is
it's a loss. But it's not like if you right. It's not like if you drafted him 3rd overall and he was your only first round pick and he never showed up. It's the cherry on the sundae.
It's the, think of the 2007 draft class. They got Patrick Kane and that was it. But it's fine because it was Patrick Kane. But you still want a couple players coming out of each draft class if you can.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. Hypothetical 19th or 20th pick, then the other Tampa pick next year, and that first second round pick this year to trade up for Michkov. Would you do it?
Depends on how far you have to go. Do you have to go to 6? Do you have to go to 10?
Well, the problem is you don't know that, right? So like
until those picks are
still there after 5. I mean,
but then you're probably running into other teams that are like, hey, he's kind of fallen into our lap. I don't know.
It also depends on
who else. Play what how things play out.
You also have to be worried somebody that's yet to draft is going to get to him before you. So if you know you have to jump ahead of, say, the Washington Capitals, and the team that picks just ahead of the Washington Capitals knows that, the price of poker goes up.
Right.
Yeah. So that would be 2 firsts. So like I would imagine Tampa will take a little bit of a slip. So let's just say 19 this year and 15 or 14 next year, plus that early second round pick this year,
which is like 35.
Yeah. So it's a lot, but if you think Michkov is going to be the dude everybody thinks he's going to be, I mean, like I said before, if his name was Gordy O'Sullivan, he'd be number 2 overall without any question. You know what I mean? So,
right.
I don't know. It's interesting. We got a lot of time to talk about it. Before we get to our first break, going to address a couple super chats we got here. Thomas says, could you see other teams not trading with Chicago out of spite for us getting Bedard? That is a good way to get your ass fired.
Yeah, exactly.
The Hawks didn't do anything wrong to win they won the draft. They had the 3rd best odds and the lottery balls fell in their favor. I don't know why anyone would be mad at the Blackhawks for that. What are they supposed to do? Say no, thank you? Like
if the Blackhawks call you and have a chance for you to improve your team and get you closer to a championship, and you say no because you're mad they won the draft lottery, you're getting your ass fired.
That'd be
deservedly so.
Should Ryan Poles not trade with the Packers out of spite? Like that's just dumb. Like it's if you're shutting the door on an opportunity because of bitterness or a rivalry, you're not doing yourself any service. And that's a really good way to lose your job. I can't imagine that would happen, but who knows? There have been dumb people running organizations for a long time. The other super chat comes from Brandon. He says, I don't think DeBrincat stays in Ottawa. On a 3-year deal, you could decide what to do with him and get a Bedard extension. This contract for DeBrincat's going to
take a 3-year deal.
This is going to be the 8-9-year deal for DeBrincat. It's going to be the biggest one he signs of his career, most likely. So you're not going to get him on a bridge. They already did that. There's no shot that Alex DeBrincat is signing a bridge anywhere. I don't think that. Let's just say, I don't think he has shut the door on playing here. It doesn't seem like he's very bitter about anything. But it's just like we always say, the guy's returning. It's a pipe dream. It's also when you look at the roster now. Bedard, Reichel, you got a lot of skill. You got to add some different style of scoring.
Yeah.
You got to get some more physical, bigger kind of scorers in here. So I'm not sure DeBrincat makes a lot of sense at this point.
Yeah, and if you're going to be throwing that kind of money around, I think Davidson would probably rather spend, let's say it's a $10 million contract. I think he'd rather find 2 $5 million players at this point than one $10 million player.
Yeah.
Plus DeBrincat's an RFA, so you would have to trade for his rights to sign him first. So you'd be giving up more than money. Like Ottawa is not just going to let him go and not give him a qualifying offer.
Right.
If he wants to go somewhere, his agent is going to have to find that team that is willing to trade for those signing rights and then sign him.
Right.
So now you're giving up assets as long with salary cap space, and he's not going to sign a 3-year deal. It's just not worth it. I know we love our Alex DeBrincat, but
of course,
guys, that ship has sailed. Let it go.
Yep.
Yeah. Timo Meier, by the way, same boat. He is a restricted free agent. The Devils have his rights to negotiate a long-term deal first. But you'd have to, if you want that, you'd have to trade with the Devils to get him.
Yeah, they actually talked about that on 32 Thoughts today with Elliot Freeman and Jeff Merrick, saying Elliot Freeman says he believes they're going to let Timo Meier go to arbitration so they can sign him to a 1-year deal at like $8.5 million and then see where it goes from there. And if he doesn't want to do that, if he doesn't want to sign long-term with the Devils, then they'll look to trade him.
And then is he a UFA after that?
Yeah, he's the UFA.
Because he'd be 20. He'd be 27.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, if I'm Timo Meier, I don't mind that either. Of course, you want the security of a long-term deal as soon as you can get it. But to say, all right, 8.5, I'm going to have a great season here, and then I'm going to go shop around and see what I can get.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the franchise tag in the NFL. Go out and bet on yourself and get more money the next year.
right.
Well, Greg, it's not as sunny today as it has been, but you can still look pretty sweet when you go outside.
Yes, I would throw on one of my numerous pairs of Shady Rays right now, but I tried that once and then I couldn't see the computer screen.
Not ideal.
No, but you could see everything else crystal clear, especially when you're driving. I love, like, even on overcast days like today, I still wear my Shady Rays while driving because the optics are fantastic. And when the sun does come back out, which it will at some point, you can take it on with gear built to last, because Shady Rays has you covered for the warm weather ahead with their premium polarized shades that come at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that is better than any expensive pair I've ever worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers you the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on the very first day, they told us they'll send you a brand new pair with no questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. And you're going to look great in your Shady Rays. You're going to feel great because Shady Rays is providing much needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact. With every purchase you make, they are helping build play sets for pediatric cancer patients. They're providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime, donating meals all across the country. Shady Rays is making an impact now and for years to come. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, but you will, so don't worry about this part. But just in case, you can exchange them for a brand new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There is zero risk when you shop. They always have your back at Shady Rays. And besides having your back, they are giving you the best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the promo code CHGO at checkout, and you're going to receive 50% off all orders of 2 or more pairs of their awesome sunglasses. So go ahead. I dare you. Try the sunglasses rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
That's a lot of human beings rating sunglasses. So well done, Shady Rays. We love you. I also love Fubo TV. That is my TV provider now, and I absolutely adore it. I can do the multi-view and watch the Hawks and the Stanley Cup playoffs. Well, not at the same time. I can watch the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Cubs and whatever else I want to watch, the 3-screen split, the 4-screen split, whatever you want to do. You get 140 live channels of sports, shows, movies, and news. You can stream live TV from any device. So I'm out on my walk, pop on the Fubo TV app, and I can watch TV as I walk. And you can watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price. Start watching immediately with a 7-day free trial. Go to FuboTV.com/CHGO. There's no contract. There's no cable. There's no hassle. Just signed up and start watching right away. 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge, and you can watch your local teams while traveling. You've got the PGA Championship, the French Open, the WNBA is about to tip off, the NHL Draft. We know that's coming up, the NHL NBA playoffs. And here's a big thing. If you're a Cub fan, if you want to stream Marquee Sports Network, there is no other streaming service that carries Marquee aside from Fubo TV. You can also watch everybody on NBC Sports Chicago, including the White Sox, Bulls, and Hawks. That is a great deal. It is a great service. Use the link in our description to save up to 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. Go to FuboTV.com/CHGO. Couple comments I want to get to before we continue with the Kyle Davidson audio. First and foremost, Hunter says, "Hey guys, just want to say I finished my first year of college and every day I listen to your show. Love it. Can't wait to see where the Hawks go. Thank you and congrats, Hunter.
Yep.
That's
Way
great.
to go.
A couple other people have mentioned prying the number 11 pick away from Vancouver. I think they're referring to the Connor Garland, Brock Besser thing. I would be surprised if the Hawks are able to trade for one of those two guys and the toss-in is number 11.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem very likely to me. Now, if the Hawks wanted to package 19 or 20 and something else for 11, that might be doable, but I think that's a separate deal, or it's an extra part of any sort of deal that would bring Garland or Besser to Chicago, because those guys are both under 30 and they're both still really damn good players. So it's not a Peter Mrazek, Nikita Zaitsev situation.
Yeah, they're not trying to beg people to take them off their hands, but I think going out and being able to do that can get you some other assets back. Unless the Blackhawks are saying, here's our highest second round pick, we'll take them off your hands, and they do some sort of pick swap. I don't know. I don't see Vancouver doing that unless it's some sort of major swap trade.
Yeah, they're desperate. They're not that desperate, but it is the Canucks, so never say never when it comes to those guys.
It's true.
It's a good point. Eric says add Tyler Myers last year, and I think Vancouver gives 11. Myers and Garland plus our own second. I don't know. I want to spot D though.
Yeah, we don't. We got too many D already.
Yeah, it's congested.
Yeah, you don't want a congested D.
I was just gonna say, congested D is never good.
Yeah, never. That's why I got to clear it out every day. All right. Next up, he closes the door absolutely on Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews coming back. We've said it. It's been repeated many times, but here it is, right from Kyle Davidson's mouth.
Yeah, I think we did make our decision that we were going to move on from Jonathan and Patrick, and it was not an easy decision, but one we thought gave these young players coming in the best opportunity to grow into those leadership roles that Jonathan and Patrick filled for so long and filled so amazingly for so long. And so, it was something we decided, kind of around trade deadline, and then with Jonathan later in the game a bit. But we think it's important. We think it's really giving these young players the same opportunity that Patrick, Jonathan, and many others that were part of that core group in the 2010s when they entered the league. There was no franchise player that was there that they could just lean on and use as somewhat of a crutch or have to defer to. It's going to be up to those young players to, with the assistance of some leadership. Let's not kid ourselves. We're going to have some good leadership in that locker room for them, but it's going to be up to them to take on leadership roles. And we think that's really healthy for their development and will serve them very well down the road when it comes time for them to completely take over the leadership of the teams.
All right. Can we put that to bed?
I thought we did already, but it's like Michael Myers. It just keeps popping back up just when you think it's dead.
Yeah, it's dead.
We're done here, folks. We're done here.
It's
like
and
we
said, another thing he said in the interview, I didn't pull this part. He was asked about like Reichel and Bedard playing together, and he said if you have too many guys that have to have the puck on the same line, it's not necessarily a good thing. Not shutting the door on Reichel and Bedard playing together, but just saying sort of in general, every line has that dude who's the puck carrier.
Right. And
that's Patrick Kane and that's Connor Bedard. And it seems like that's Lucas Reichel. So, it's over. That move on. I'm not saying I'm glad it's over because that's those guys, but like, it's just time. It's time. And now Connor Bedard makes it more time than even before. Bedard is less of a reason to bring them back, not more, in my opinion.
He is the new face of the franchise. Put him out there and let him be the guy.
Yes. Oh, and good point by Michael here in the chat says they seem to envision Reichel as a center as well. And Davidson did say that. He said, what a 1-2 punch that could be. He can't say Bedard, but but he alluded to the fact that you have two centers of that caliber. That's a really good 1-2 punch if they both project as centers. So, and it definitely seems like he's got Bedard pegged as a center. So, yeah. All right. So now that we've discussed the hockey part of the interview, there were two other things that came up. I'm going to let David Hawes' question speak for itself because I don't want to paraphrase it. I think it's important to get it right. But this kind of goes towards these next two will kind of pertain to the Kyle Beach fallout and the fans' feelings about it.
So, Kyle, big picture, as you know, since you got the number one pick and you won the NHL Draft lottery, there's been some backlash. There's been columnists who have written that maybe the Blackhawks didn't deserve this pick. They should have been deprived a first rounder because of the Kyle Beach situation that you have moved on from organizationally and done a lot of work in that direction. You also have fans who might be very conflicted about, is it okay to feel excited about the Hawks again or hockey in Chicago? How do you address those people who might feel some ambivalence here, some mixed feelings about whether or not to get excited because of what this organization has been through the last several years?
Yeah, no, you know what? I think that's a natural train of thought, right? The natural skepticism based on what did occur here and what we learned occurred in the past. But you know what? And I'd almost push back a little bit on how you frame that. I don't think we have necessarily moved on. It's more so, you know, it shapes some, you know, everything we do every day, how we monitor, how we communicate, how we educate, and how we learn, and how we advocate. You know, it's something that you know we obviously denounce. We work to you know be better for every day, and I understand the conflicted feelings that some may have, but at the same time, you know, I think there is an ability for people to get excited and you know, we can still remember and try and get better based on what happened every single day while also being excited about this. And so, you know what, I think there's a place for both feelings in what happened on Monday and winning the lottery.
I love that he said, we have not moved on from this, and that it informs and is in the back of their mind on everything they do as an organization. And I'm sure there are cynical people that are saying that's just lip service. He's full of shit. I don't know. I for the most part, I think they have shown some, aside from Rocky's outburst at the town hall meeting, you know, Danny and Jamie have said the right things about it. Now, I think they had a misstep with the Pride Night. We've been through that a million times, but I don't know. I think the fact that he says, hey, look, this is not something we've moved on from at all. We think about it all the time. I think that's great. And I'm glad that he sort of said, I'm not going to let let me move on from this, because we sure haven't.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Because there's a lot of, I guess, a lot of the angst that, you know, other fan bases in hockey have, is that, you know, they don't, I think people think Blackhawks fans have the moniker of just like, oh, it's in the past, like whatever, we've litigated it, kind of basically what Rocky Wirtz said at the town hall. And from what I've seen and encountered and whatnot, like, I don't think the majority of Blackhawks fans feel that way. And I'm glad to see that, you know, Davidson and the management group is in that same boat, that it's not, hey, let us move on from this. It's, hey, we have to, you know, continue to remember it, to learn lessons and to be better. So yeah, I think that's a totally fair way of looking at it. And it's definitely not something that can be swept under the rug, because obviously from past instances of things being swept under the rug, it does you no good. So yeah, I'm glad that Kyle addressed it that way.
Yeah, I think now this might be hard to believe for some people listening. The Blackhawks aren't very well liked outside of the city of Chicago for a lot of reasons. Some justified, some not justified. People view this team as like the same line as like the Yankees or the Red Sox in baseball or the Patriots, you know, the evil empire, which is insane when you think about where this franchise was in the last decade of the Bill Wirtz era. But I just think that there's, no matter what they say and no matter what they do in regards to how they make sure this never happens again, people are going to say it's not enough. People are going to say it's just lip service because that's what, quote, people do. So as long as they're transparent, it's good enough for me.
You know, I've been thinking about this the last few days too, because I'm trying to be open-minded to hear people's frustration with the Hawks getting the pick. And our friends at PHNX have talked about it, and pretty much everybody else in hockey, that like they only got a $2.5 million fine and they should have had some draft capital taken away. Okay. I can go with that. I agree. First of all, if they did lose draft capital, it would have been last year's draft, not this one. Second of all, keep in mind, as of this moment, Joel Quenneville is not allowed to coach a hockey team. Sam Bowman, don't care, throw a dollar in, is not allowed to general manage a hockey team. Al McIsaac is not allowed to be part of a hockey team. John McDonough is out of the game. So those individuals directly responsible for turning their backs on what happened with Kyle Beach are out of the game right now. If, and I will say in parentheses, when Gary Bettman reinstates most of them or some of them, that is an issue with the NHL, not the Blackhawks. But the Blackhawks got rid of everyone that was here that remained when the controversy came out. And the people that were with other organizations, aside from Kevin Cheveldayoff, which is a different story for some reason, have been punished accordingly and are out of the game. So, yes, the organization was only fined $2.5 million, but the individuals responsible have been punished as well. So, something to keep in mind that I think maybe we've lost sight of. You know, is Quenneville winningest or second winningest coach ever? Second, right?
Second.
Yeah, the second winningest coach in hockey history is
nobody's ever going to be number one.
Yeah.
Nobody's beaten Scotty Bowman.
Yeah, good point.
And as McLevin says in the chat, they also settled out of court. You know, there was a settlement. We don't know how much that settlement was, or we'll ever know how much. It's undisclosed. So it's not like it was just the $2 million they paid. They settled as well. They pay, like, yeah, was the punishment a little light? Probably, but it is what it is. And my biggest irk of this whole thing is, where was the concern for the safety of Kevin Korchinski when he was drafted by the team last year? Where was the concern for Frank Nazar coming into this organization when he was drafted last year? It wasn't there. It didn't exist. But because it's
Theo Carlson either.
Right. Where was any of that? And it's like, well, here it is. Now it's Canadian hero Connor Bedard, and we all have to just, show our whole ass on the internet. It's fine. Be mad. Be mad. It's cool. Like, it just, now all of a sudden you care about sexual assault. You don't. You just want to hate on the Blackhawks. Move on.
Yeah. Got a super chat here from Brandon. $2 says, does Norm McIver or no. Yes. Norm McIver get a GM job? To be clear, Al McIsaac is the one who was fired. I hope I didn't misspeak in that last.
No, you said McIsaac.
Yeah, you said
Al McIsaac was the assistant GM or whatever he was under Bowman. He's dismissed. Norm McIver was with the organization before, left, and now is back with Kyle Davidson. I do think at some point Norm McIver will probably get a GM job somewhere. Right now, he is providing that mentor role to Kyle Davidson as being the guy who's done it before. He's been in hockey ops forever to sort of help him with the day-to-day GMing stuff that's not about draft prep, trades, that sort of thing. But I do think it's hockey. Norm McIver's an old hockey guy. Yes, I think he will find a GM job in some way to perform down the road. Yeah.
If he wants one. Maybe he doesn't want one. He went to Seattle for 1 year and came back. Maybe he just loves being an assistant GM with the Blackhawks. But if this rebuild keeps trending the way it does, and the Blackhawks, it starts turning out into, Stanley Cup contention, he's definitely going to have some people interested in him.
Didn't we already hear Jeff Greenberg being mentioned for somebody?
That was
he got
Pittsburgh.
connected to Pittsburgh because of his connection to Theo Epstein, and now that Fenway owns Pittsburgh. I think that was more spitballing than an actual like request for an interview. But yeah,
the concept's already out there. So
yeah,
I mean, look, that's what happens anywhere. An organization does well, and people poach their talent. And if that happens to the Hawks, great, because it means that they had a lot of success.
absolutely, yeah. Like you eventually want teams to come away and take away your best assistant general managers or your best scouts, because that means they're really good at your job and your team is in good shape.
All right, we've got one more super chat from Young Dingle God. We're going to get to it here in a second, but I don't want to lose the momentum of the conversation we're having. The last cut here from Kyle Davidson. Again, thanks to 670 The Score for letting us use this audio. If you remember, right after the Kyle Beach fallout, Wayne Gretzky was on Turner saying, if I had an 18-year-old kid, I would have concerns about him playing for the Blackhawks. David Haw asked that question very similarly. I'll let you hear it from him, and you'll hear Kyle Davidson's response as well.
I think it was about a year ago after the town hall and Rocky Wirtz said what he said, that it was Wayne Gretzky who talked about very publicly. He said something to the effect that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that, if I had an 18-year-old kid and I was going into the Blackhawk organization, I would want to know how they were going to protect him in light of what's happened, in light of the reaction to that. You're dealing with a lot of kids who are still teenagers. The number one prospect, Connor Bedard, 17 years old. If his parents, if any parents of a prospect were to ask you that question now before the draft next month, how would you answer it?
Yeah, I think it's again, these are concerns and questions that people are asking, and I feel very comfortable with the culture we've created, especially in the locker room with, head coach Luke Richardson and his advocacy for, not only mental health awareness, but having mental health professionals available to all of our players at all times. We advertise and make available reporting, anonymous reporting lines for our players should they experience anything or need to report anything. And it's something we're working on, and we're communicating with our players, with our staff every single day, and making the resources available to provide that reporting, that safety, and that education to everyone should they need to use it and go down that road. So, we've put in a lot of different processes and systems here to ensure that there's, the necessary resources available to protect people, to be made available to our players and staff. And I don't think it's exclusive just to the players coming in, right? It's also available to every one of our staff members, to make sure that they feel protected, that they feel safe in their place of work, whether that be the locker room or in the front office here at the United Center.
There you have it. I mean, it's pretty clear, and I like that he specifically referenced specific resources the teams and the players and the people at the organization have. If you're having an issue, you can anonymously report it. And look, I'm not going to go overboard in praising them for this, because it should have been in place before. Now, society was a lot different 13 years ago than it is now. That's certainly true. However, it shouldn't have taken something like this to make these changes. But there is completely new leadership in charge, aside from Rocky Wirtz, who, is just kind of the guy at the top, and he doesn't really run the day-to-day. Everyone else in charge has made changes in light of and because of what happened with Kyle Beach, and hopefully the players and staff and everybody that wears a Blackhawks 3/4 zip to work feels safe and feels like if something does happen, they can go and they'll be taken care of. And I do believe when Kyle Davidson speaks, I tend to take what he says seriously, and I think he seems like an honest guy. So I'm glad they've made these changes, and I hope they keep doing them and keep evolving them as time goes on.
Yeah, and I mean, if you remember the reports of what happened to Beach, like he told people, and those people ran it up the pole to the people that were in charge. So, he did what he was kind of supposed to do, and everyone did what they were supposed to do until it got to the management. And at that point, that's where the failure came. So I think the new management that's in here, knowing everything we know now and whatnot, I think that, you know, their mindset of it is completely different than what it was, you know, 13 years ago, and the mentality is completely different. And yeah, having a bigger focus on that, on, you know, the mental health of players and the safety of players is, and people within your organization, employees and all that, it's a completely different landscape for that now than it was before. So I'm glad that, you know, it's pretty evident that the Blackhawks are trying to be, you know, forward thinking in that regard. So, you know, time will tell. Hopefully they never have to use those kinds of systems that they have in place. But, you know, if ever there's something that's improper within the organization, you know, I think you could trust that new management and new eyes and new ears on things can handle it the right way.
I hope so, because the people that should have helped Kyle Beach did not, and they prioritized a hockey playoff series over the health and well-being of a player. And I also I bristle at that, because you can do both. You can go win a playoff series and handle the sexual abuse that just happened in your organization. I've said it since we heard about this. They could have said, the day they found out, we have fired video coach Brad Aldrich. There will be no comments on this situation at this time. Go win the cup, address it in the offseason, and move on.
Yep.
And do the right.
Nope, nobody would have looked down on this organization. They would have applauded the organization if they said, hey, this happened on our watch and we find that unacceptable. We are turning him over to the authorities. He no longer works here, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
They would have been applauded. They wouldn't have, nobody would have thought any less about them if they said, hey, this is what happened and we are handling it.
And it would have almost been like that. That would have been it.
Yeah,
like it wouldn't have been years upon years upon
Nobody
years
would
of
have been
failure.
Screaming about Connor Bedard when the Hawks shouldn't have won the draft. I mean, they still would have, but they would have had another reason. They would have had to come up with some other excuse.
Yeah, exactly. All right, before we wrap up, we want to get to the super chat by our buddy Young Dangle God, $5. He says Brock Besser had 55 points in 74 games last year on the third line with Nils Amon and Dakota Joshua. Say he plays on a line with Bedard. How many points does he get? A minimum 250.
I mean, he could easily be 60, 65 points, you know, stay healthy, be kind of that scorer that can help complement, be on the other end of, you know, Bedard setting him up. Like, it's not a bad life.
Yeah. By the way, Nils almond is my favorite flavor of Greek yogurt.
Nice.
Delicious. Yeah, I mean, look, the Young Dale God's point though about Besser, like, hey, I'm a 50, 60 point guy. Maybe I go play with this generational kid and I suddenly become a 70, 80 point guy, and then my next contract looks really good.
Sure.
You know?
Right, with another team.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So all of a sudden, like we talked about yesterday, the Blackhawks are a free agent destination. They always have been. But now with Connor Bedard, you've got those kind of fringe guys that aren't going to make huge deals saying, hey, I can get 70 to 90 points playing with this kid. Sign me the F up. So
yeah,
it's fun. Man, what an incredible effing week we've had on this show, man. Like, it was just 5 days ago that the Hawks won the draft lottery. And
crazy.
It's been incredible. Stick with us this summer. There's going to be so much more to come. You heard it from Kyle Davidson. They're going to be active. They're going to be busy. Mm-hmm. We're going to be in Nashville for the draft. More specific details on that coming out, but make your plans to go. If you haven't already, make your plans to go down to the draft, because it's going to be a wild week for the Chicago Blackhawks. We're going to be down there Monday for the awards ceremony, and Friday, the day after the draft, development camp starts. So
it's going to be a long week.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but
it's still a long 2 weeks.
Boys,
it still beats showing up to a cubicle every morning. Bring it on.
That's true.
Yes. All right, before we wrap up, we got to take care of a couple things. We got some business to take care of, fellas.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of having a good time.
Yes.
If you want to sit back after the end of the long week, it's Friday, and crack open a beer to celebrate the week that you had and the week that the Blackhawks had, do it with Goose Island beer. They are flying over our heads. They are Chicago's beer since 1988, and they are the proud beer sponsor of us here at CHGO. And how could you argue with the deep and talented roster that they have of their delicious beers? You got the Goose IPA, a 6-time medal winner at the Great American Beer Festival, always in styles with a citrus aroma and bold hop finish. You got the Tropical Beer Hug IPA, a dry hopped Imperial IPA, which is at a 9.9 ABV. That is dangerously easy to drink. One of those could take care of you for the whole day if you wanted. You got the Full Pocket Pills, the everyday beer. It's what the beer brewers are drinking. You got the 312, the staple of their lineup that comes in the golden can. You also got the Green Line, the Matilda, a lot of stuff with Goose Island that you can sit back and enjoy, and you can grab ultra fresh brewery exclusive beers at the Goose Island Original Brewhouse on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or you can go to their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Again, that is the Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer.
Yes, a nice cold beer on a hot summer day hits the spot, and so does a nice cool home because of some air conditioning on a hot summer day too. And that's where the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program comes in, because they're committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve help manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future.
Yes, indeed. ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across their territory. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, like for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
I wonder, how does that all work?
Greg,
I wonder too.
Oh, both of you. I'm glad you both asked. Get out a pen, because in a minute, you're going to have to take down a website. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually, and they last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 or 4 weeks, customers will get a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on right away. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. If you own a business, don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to, write this down, fellas, comed.com/poweringbiz.
I don't have a pen. Can you repeat that?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll write it on the screen here for you. Was that BIZ, Powering Biz, BIZ, right?
That's right. comed.com/poweringbiz. Schedule it today. All right.
Today.
That's it. That week's in the book. Week 1 of the Connor Bedard era is in the books unofficially. Can't wait for the actual beginning of the Connor Bedard era in a few months, but we'll get you there all summer. It's Bedardapalooza. Get ready.
Hey, the off season just became a lot more entertaining, and it's gonna be a fun one.
Yep.
Yes.
Do want to mention there are other prospects that the Blackhawks are going to have in their system. The Seattle Thunderbirds in the WHL with Kevin Korchinski, Colton Dock, and Nolan Allen. They begin their WHL Championship Series tonight against the Winnipeg Ice. I believe puck drop is at 7 p.m. Central Time in Winnipeg. So if you have a way to watch or go to those games, support the guys as they go for the WHL Championship.
Sounds good to me. Bring on as many champions as you can. That sounds awesome.
Hey, it'd be if they win and head to the Memorial Cup, I would love to speak to those three again between that time period. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be great. See if they're just completely beaming from knowing that they're going to be teammates with Connor Bedard.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, a hell of a lot of fun.
I'm sure it helps.
By the way, Seattle Thunderbirds, they need some better merch on their website. Can we have a talk with them? I've been trying to order some Thunderbird gear and none of it looks great. They got a great logo, but the merch is kind of lame. Speaking of merch, you're going to want to see Monday's show because we're going to add a nice new set piece that I think a lot of people are going to like at our CHGO studio. So don't miss Monday's show or any show. And look, if you know a Hawks fan in your life, this show would be a great one to share with them because it's a lot about Connor Bedard. It's got the voice of Kyle Davidson. It's got breakdowns and everything offseason wise. This would be a great one to share. So once it's done, jump on your favorite podcast app or send that YouTube video to a friend or two. That would be gratefully helpful and appreciated if you could do that for us. And shout out to Kyle Brandt from NFL Network for wearing a CHGO football shirt on the show today. Absolutely awesome. Again, if you want to get yourself some CHGO merch, chgolocker.com. Die hard, save 20% every time. All right, let's wrap things up. Let's begin the weekend. Lawrence, thanks for running the show. Reminder, we are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. For Greg and for Mario, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening to the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.